What if I told you that the world around you, the chair you're sitting on, the phone in your hand, even your own body, isn't actually solid, and might not even be fully real until you look at it? That sounds like science fiction, but it's not. It's one of the strangest, most mind-bending ideas to come out of quantum physics, and it's backed by real experiments. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, the way you see reality might never be the same again. Let's start simple. Right now, everything feels solid and predictable. You drop a glass, it falls. You flip a switch, the light turns on. This is the kind of world we're used to, a world that follows clear rules. For centuries, scientists believed the universe worked like a giant machine, ticking along with perfect certainty. If you knew all the details, you could predict everything. But then, scientists began looking closer. Not just at atoms, but inside atoms, at the tiny particles that make up everything. And what they found didn't make sense. These particles didn't behave like little solid balls. Instead, they acted like probabilities. Imagine throwing a dart at a dartboard. Normally, you'd expect it to land in one exact spot. But in the quantum world, it's as if the dart doesn't choose a single place. Instead, it exists as a spread of possibilities, like a blurry cloud, covering many spots at once. Only when you look at the board does the dart suddenly decide where it landed. That's not an analogy. That's literally how quantum particles behave. This idea comes from something called the wave function. Think of it as a mathematical way of describing all the possible states a particle can be in. Before you observe it, the particle isn't in one place, it's in all possible places at once. Not physically split into pieces, but existing as a range of probabilities. And here's where it gets really weird. The moment you observe the particle, the wave function collapses. All those possibilities shrink down into a single outcome. One position. One reality. So before you look, reality is a set of probabilities. After you look, it becomes definite. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's just tiny particles. That doesn't affect my everyday life. But here's the twist, everything is made of these particles. Which means, at a fundamental level, reality itself is built on probability. Let me show you one of the most famous experiments in physics, the double-slit experiment. Imagine you're firing tiny particles, like electrons, at a wall with two narrow slits, and behind that is a screen that records where they land. If these were normal particles, like tiny bullets, you'd expect them to go through one slit or the other and form two lines on the screen. But that's not what happens. Instead, you get a pattern of many lines, like waves interfering with each other. This is something you'd expect from water waves, not particles. It's as if each electron is going through both slits at the same time and interfering with itself. Now here's the part that breaks reality. If you place a detector to watch which slit the electron goes through, the pattern changes. Suddenly, the interference pattern disappears, and you get the two simple lines you expected in the first place. It's as if the electron knows it's being observed and changes its behavior. Think about that. When you're not looking, the electron acts like a wave of possibilities. When you look, it behaves like a solid particle. So what's actually real? The wave or the particle? The unsettling answer is both, depending on whether you observe it. And this leads to a question that has puzzled scientists and philosophers for decades: does observation create reality? Now, don't misunderstand this. It doesn't mean you can think $1 million into your bank account. Quantum physics isn't magic or wishful thinking. But it does suggest that at the deepest level, reality isn't fixed until it's measured or interacted with. Let's bring this closer to home. Imagine you're in a dark room with a table in front of you. You can't see it, but you know it's there. In classical physics, the table has a definite position whether you look at it or not. But in quantum terms, the particles that make up the table exist as probabilities until something interacts with them: light, your eyes, anything that counts as a measurement. So in a very real sense, what you experience as a solid, stable world is the result of constant interactions collapsing countless probabilities into definite outcomes. Your reality is being updated every moment. Now here's where it gets even deeper. Some interpretations of quantum physics suggest that all possible outcomes actually exist, but in different branches of reality. This is known as the many worlds interpretation. According to this idea, every time a quantum event happens, the universe splits into multiple versions, one for each possible outcome. In one version, the electron goes through the left slit. In another, it goes through the right. Both are real, just in separate realities. That means there could be countless versions of you, each living slightly different lives, based on every possible decision and random event. It sounds insane, but mathematically, it works. Even if you don't accept the idea of multiple universes, the core message remains the same: reality is not as solid or certain as it appears. At its foundation, the universe is a web of probabilities, constantly shifting and only becoming definite when observed. Now let's pause for a second and think about what this means. Everything you see, hear, and touch feels stable because billions upon billions of quantum events are being averaged out. On large scales, the weirdness disappears, and we get the familiar world we know. But underneath that surface, the uncertainty never goes away. It's always there, quietly shaping reality. And here's a fascinating thought experiment. Imagine if humans could directly perceive the quantum world. Instead of seeing solid objects, you might see blurry clouds of probability, constantly shifting and overlapping. The idea of a fixed object would vanish. Reality would look more like a dynamic, ever-changing field of possibilities. But our brains aren't built for that. We evolved to see a stable world because it helps us survive. So what we experience is not raw reality, but a simplified version of it. In other words, your brain is showing you a useful illusion. Not a fake world, but a filtered one. And that raises a powerful question: if what we perceive is just a simplified version of reality, how much are we missing? Quantum physics doesn't give us all the answers, but it does force us to rethink what real even means. Reality isn't just out there, independent and fixed. It's something that emerges through interactions, measurements, and probabilities resolving into outcomes. So the next time you look around, remember this. The solid world you trust is built on something far stranger, a hidden layer where nothing is certain, where particles exist in multiple states at once, and where observation plays a key role in shaping what becomes real. That doesn't make your world fake. It makes it deeper than you ever imagined. And maybe that's the most incredible part. The universe isn't just a machine running on fixed rules. It's more like a story unfolding, moment by moment, with possibilities turning into reality in ways we're only beginning to understand. So is reality real? Yes, but not in the way you think. If this blew your mind even a little, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the universe, and tell me in the comments, do you think reality exists without observation? Because the next time you look at something, you might wonder, did it become real just because you looked at it?